to feel this is their year. They must be playing defensive. Schmeichel's not coming up for this one. Thinks he's done enough. Is this their moment? It's a Sheringham and Solskjaer has won it! Manchester United have reached the promised land. Oli Solskjaer. 2 substitutes. Let's score the 2 goals in stoppage time. 4, and the treble looms large.
1. Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. We're back with another news show, an afternoon news show, and we've got plenty to get into. As you can see by the thumbnail and what's on the screen, main talking points over the last couple of days is that early talks and early communications and maybe two clubs kind of feeling each other out in relation to a transfer in the summer. Harry Kane to Manchester United. Will it happen? Won't it happen? We'll get into the reasons maybe why. The reasons maybe why not. We've got plenty of other things to talk about as well, guys. We're going to get into Manchester United. If being taken over by the Qataris, are we going to be linked with maybe these big name superstars that might necessarily fit in with Eric Ten Hag's system? Case in point being, United have been linked with Neymar and have been offered a chance to sign him in the summer. So we'll discuss that as well. We're going to get into some midfield options as well. Obviously, we played against them on Sunday. McAllister has been linked with United over the last weeks, and there's going to be competition there from our closest rivals, the likes of Liverpool. But United are in a strong position, so we'll talk about him as well. We'll also talk about current players that are there. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes picked up an injury on the weekend. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about Garnacho as well. Obviously, he is still, we're still waiting for him to come back from injury. But is he going to be leaving sooner than we thought he would be? Because obviously the FIFA World Cup Under-20s tournament is starting on the 20th of May. So he may miss the remainder, a piece of the end of the season. So we'll get into that as well. And of course, guys, get your thoughts into the comment section. Anybody who's watching, I see Chris is there as well, and he says straight away, Kane, oh no, my worst nightmare. But look, I mean, let's get straight into it and talk about Harry Kane. And I think, look, it's a story now that's been picking up some momentum over the last couple of days and weeks, really. And Manchester United to start work early regarding the Harry Kane deal. And as we see down here, let me have a look. With Daniel Levy in charge of Spurs, United want to make sure that they have enough time to try and find a solution for the England captain before moving on to other targets. Now, this is the main stumbling block, or it is a stumbling block, really, when we're talking about Harry Kane to Manchester United. It's Daniel Levy, and it's, whether or not he will budge in either his valuation of Harry Kane, whether he wants to, we know he doesn't want to let him go, but there has been reports over the last few days that Daniel Levy would be happy to accept up to 80 million for Harry Kane from a team outside of the UK, outside of England, whereas if it's to be a Premier League side that's going to be in for Harry Kane, he's going to look for a minimum of 100 million. Or he mightn't even consider selling him to, obviously it would be a rival, because you're not going to be selling Harry Kane to Bournemouth or, Southampton or somebody like that. But look, I think Daniel Levy, as we see on the screen here, he is the major stumbling block when it comes to this deal getting done. According to the Telegraph, Manchester United have started to make attempts to find out what will it take to sign Harry Kane, with expectation increasing that the striker will not sign a new Tottenham Hotspur contract in the summer. So, look, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty clear that Manchester United do want Harry Kane, and he is going to be a top priority for them. Telegraph Sports understands that United plan to bid for Kane, and that a due diligence over what his price tag might be and how to handle negotiations with chairman Daniel Levy has already begun. Now, if we go back to the previous one here, according to the Telegraph, Manchester United have started to make attempts to find out, what will it take. So basically, nothing has happened yet. You know what I mean? There's a lot of, I don't think I've ever seen a sentence with so much ifs, buts, and maybes in it. You know, Manchester United have started to make attempts to find out what it'll take to sign Harry Kane. You know what I mean? So, look, there's not a there's not an awful lot in this as of now. But if one thing is for sure, we certainly do need a striker. And Harry Kane is a striker that's potentially up for grabs in the summer. Chris says Kane needs to come out and say he wants to leave for United. Yeah, look, I think it would be hard for Kane to do that before the season ends. I think once we see the season over, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Now, he does have a lot of loyalty to Spurs as well. So is he ever going to come out publicly and say that? He's obviously saying that to Daniel Levy in the background, or his representatives are saying, I'm not signing a new contract. You can keep me for another year. I'll leave next year for free. But saying that, just give me 1 sec, guys. But yeah, sorry. So saying that privately to Daniel Levy and saying that publicly is completely different. Completely different. And yeah, I would be surprised if he comes out publicly and states he wants to leave. I would. Farouz is saying better buy Osman than Harry Kane. Well, this is the I suppose this is the conundrum really between Manchester United fans, that, you know, a lot of people want Kane, a lot of people want Osman, some people want neither, some people, you know, have other ideas. But look, I mean, I've said this before, and I say it again. I think if you want Premier League goals, the safest money you can invest in is Harry Kane when it comes to Premier League goals, in my own personal opinion. Chris says, agree with the end of the season, but when season is over, that will help move things along. Yeah, so look, I mean, it's something now that, look, we're in that kind of phase now before the start of the season that, you know, rumors are starting to just kind of, you know, grow roots a little bit, and it can get silly in you know, I think once the season ends and once, you know, the transfer window opens, you can see a lot more happening a lot quicker. But this kind of phase that we're in now, generally March to June, can be just rumor. Now, look, we know Harry Kane, you know, moving away from Spurs has got some legs, but I think United are well placed. One second. Apologies about that. Just had to answer a phone call. So yeah, look, I mean, Harry Kane, I have a feeling Harry Kane is going to be our Frankie de Jong this year, not in terms of longevity, but I think in terms of number one target. I think Harry Kane is probably going to be the transfer rumor that Manchester United are going to be, you know, linked with not all summer, but it's going to be our main transfer target, because we know number 9 is our main area of concern. So, and Harry Kane is stating that he doesn't want to stay with Spurs. He wants to move on. So, look, I think Manchester United, Harry Kane can be matched up quite easily here. The issue that we've said before is him, you know, and how much he's going to dig his heels in, whether he will maybe, I don't know. I still think that Daniel Levy has the mindset that I can convince him to sign the new long-term deal. I don't think Harry Kane will. I think he has realized that, you know, when his transfer to Man City fell through, I think he was saying to himself, right, look, this is it. I'll sign a new deal, but whatever, I'm not signing another one now. I think he was maybe hoping that Spurs, you know, bringing in the likes of a Mourinho or a Conte could kick on and start challenging consistently. They haven't done it. So I think for that reason, I think Harry Kane, and he doesn't owe Spurs anything either, I think could easily a deal could easily be done there. Martin says, do we really need him when Kylian Mbappe has the speed and youth? Absolutely not, Martin. Look, I respect your opinion on it. I would stay a million miles away from Kylian Mbappe, and I think he just has too much baggage. I think he doesn't have the right attitude. I don't think Ten Hag would want him as a, you know, he doesn't really seem to be a team player. It's all about him. I don't think we need that. And that will bring me nicely on to this guy. And Manchester United over the last couple of days have been linked with 31-year-old superstar Neymar. And I don't know where these reports are coming from. Well, obviously, there's a number of different outlets. The Mirror reported recently that PSG president is prepared to let Neymar and other stars leave as the club look to change their philosophy in order to win the Champions League. After Chelsea were reportedly keen on talking to PSG about a deal for Neymar, Foot Mercato are now saying that Manchester United are looking at the Brazilian situation ahead of the summer. The scenario of the 31-year-old is not a simple one, however. The winger has recurring injury issues. He's currently out with an ankle injury, has one of the highest wages in football at £956,000 per week, and also comes with plenty of baggage when it comes to endorsements and image rights. Now, I think that's the main point to take away from this article. The last sentence in that paragraph there, plenty of baggage, I think is the main issue when it comes to Neymar. Nobody is doubting the kind of quality that Neymar has, his skills, his ability, all of this kind of stuff. But that word right there, baggage, it should be enough for you to say, no, thank you. No, thank you. Again, I think he falls into a similar category with the likes of Kylian Mbappe, these overpaid superstars that put themselves ahead of the team. And a lot of people will say, he's a striker, he's supposed to score goals, he's supposed to be selfish. I understand that. I completely agree with that. I just think attitude-wise, I think your Neymars, your Kylian Mbappe's, I don't think they fit into Erik Ten Hag and what he wants to do. And that's the one thing I worry. If we look at this article, for example, here, let me zoom in on it for you. And it says, according to sources close to Manchester United, the arrival of several big stars is expected if they're bought by Qatari investors. Now, if Manchester United is to be taken over by Qatar and by, potentially the same kind of ownership that we see at PSG, are we going to see an influx of your Neymars? Are we going to see an influx of your Mbappes? Are we going to see an influx of, these overpaid superstars that don't fit into a team, don't fit into a kind of an Erik Ten Hag kind of way of playing? That's my one concern. I have to say. Neymar certainly falls into that category. Mbappe does. And I think it's a fine balance that you need to have when you're talking about having a team rather than a team of individuals. I think it's vitally important. And I don't think Ten Hag, I think if Qatar comes in and starts dictating over who we buy, I don't think Ten Hag would be around too long. I really don't. I don't think he is the kind of manager that would like to be involved in a setup like that. I think he likes to have control over transfers. We know how well he's done given last summer and how well he bought. So I don't think so. Let's see what people are saying here. Conzal is saying, I think Neymar would be a bad buy because he's very prone to injuries. There we go. Chris says, no, thank you, Neymar. Let Chelsea buy him. Exactly. He's a Chelsea kind of a signing, isn't he? He really, really is. Chelsea kind of a signing. Football Talk podcast is in. Big up. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining. And Chris says, Altani has already stated he would stay with the Ten Hag model. Well, that's certainly good to hear. I think that is something that is easier said than done. And we've basically seen the Qatar model at PSG And we know, obviously, Manchester United would have a lot more kind of history and a way of kind of doing things, albeit in the last 5 years we haven't really done it that well. But I certainly think that if the Qataris do come in, that it would have to be, you would have to allow Ten Hag to continue doing what he's doing. That's what I would say. But let's move on, guys, to other reports, and let's talk about this man. Obviously, we played against him on the weekend. We got the better of Brighton in a penalty shootout, and this guy is hot property this summer. He's going to be hot property, and obviously Manchester United are being linked with him. There is big interest from other clubs in regards to him as well. We know Liverpool are, so according to some reports, are favourites to get him, while Chelsea are also interested in signing him as well. Reports have suggested that Manchester United have had talks with Alexis McAllister's representatives. They are in the race to sign him, and that comes from Fabrizio Romano, who was speaking on the United stand yesterday. So, look, Manchester United are certainly in the market for Alexis McAllister. Now, this is what I do like to hear from him. Alexis McAllister doesn't want to wait until July or August for a transfer. He wants to move quickly and early in the transfer window. And that's music to my ears. It really, really is music to my ears, because we've seen what happened last year in the same position, centre midfield. Frankie de Jong, months, years, decades, it felt like we were talking about Frankie de Jong and is the deal going to get done? So this is nice to hear. He wants a move. There doesn't seem to be too much resistance from Brighton. They seem to be resigned to the fact that they are going to lose him in the summer. It's all about, I suppose, where he wants to go now. And if you were a central midfielder, who would you go to? If it was between Manchester United, Liverpool, and Chelsea. Chelsea are in disarray. Liverpool's midfield needs probably 3 signings. So are you going to maybe take the chance of moving to Liverpool? And they're obviously a smaller club than we are. Of course, we all know that. And then you have Manchester United, who are, after having a very good first season, we need probably, if we're to maybe sign Sabitzer, for example, one more midfielder. I think he would suit Manchester United really well. I think he would suit the way Ten Hag likes to play the game. And I think he would suit the mentality of a type of a player that Ten Hag would like. You're talking about the mentality of him compared to the mentality of him. Huge difference. Huge difference, in my opinion. These are the types of players that we want to sign, not these, and I think that's the way Ten Hag wants it. He wants his players to be the so-called mentality monsters and, have a good attitude and work hard for the team. So I think for that reason alone, I think Alexis McAllister, albeit he is a very good footballer as well, I think he would fit into Manchester United setup really, really well. I do. Let's see what people are saying here. Chris says, I would say Sabitzer and Gravenberch. We will not get a quick transfer because we are United. Now, look, I can understand that as well. I can understand that. I think I can't envisage us being as slow as we were last summer. Last summer, the new board was in, and it was their first time really leading negotiations. So you would think, hopefully, we've improved since then. I think we got, like, when you look at it, we got Martinez over the line relatively quickly. We got Casemiro over the line relatively quickly. We delayed on Anthony, but when we actually decided to go for him, we got him done relatively quickly, and we got Malacia done relatively quickly. I think, and Eriksen, basically, we were waiting for him to make up his mind because he was a free agent. I think a lot of the criticism came from the De Jong and the fact that we put all of our eggs into one basket. But I think when we actually got down to the nitty-gritty and negotiating and actually trying to get players in the door and committed to one, besides De Jong, I think they weren't That's slow. But anyway, look, time will tell. Time will tell. Chris also said, Red Chelsea have pulled out of the McAllister deal. So there we go. So, I mean, the less competition we can have, the better, you know. Now, let's go from one, let's go to a potential new midfielder to a current midfielder in the squad. And this man, and we've seen this picture go up on social media yesterday. And I think the entire Manchester United fan base took a gasp and went, oh no, what is going on here? So this obviously comes from Bruno Fernandes's wife. She posted it to her Instagram. He's got his foot here, as we can see, in a boot. But down here at the bottom of the screen, we see an even bigger boot that he has his foot in and crutches beside it. Now, look, I mean, let's not jump to too many conclusions too fast, but Bruno Fernandes being injured is not a good thing for Manchester United. We've seen the difference and the work rate and the energy levels in midfield between last Thursday in Seville versus Wembley. And Bruno Fernandes played for one of them games and he didn't play for the other. Is it a coincidence? I don't think so. I think the energy levels, and I've been saying it all season, the energy levels and the work rate that Bruno Fernandes brings to this Manchester United team doesn't go unnoticed by me. And I know there are some parts of the media and some parts of the United fan base who might get on his back a little bit, but I think he's fantastic. And I think Manchester United are nowhere near as strong. So look, Bruno Fernandes' injury, progress and potential return date, there's no real updates on it. But obviously Bruno Fernandes sustained a knock to the ankle in Sunday's penalty shootout triumph over Brighton. The injury occurred relatively early on in proceedings, given that the contest went the distance. But Bruno was determined to play on in such a huge game. United considered replacing their creative talisman at the time of the incident, but the players' resolve won out before eventually replacing the 101st minute by Wout Weghorst. So basically Ten Hag and the Manchester United medical staff wanted to take him off, I think within 5 or 10 minutes of the injury occurring. And Bruno Fernandes said, no, I want to stay on. And I read a couple of reports about that in the last few days. Has that done any long-lasting damage? We don't know yet. Obviously, here we go again. We can see the picture of him. But how long will he be out for? Obviously, look, United are back in action on Thursday night as you know, we're playing Spurs. And it's a huge game in relation to top four. You know, I think if we can beat Spurs, that'll basically put them out. They're running for it 100%. I think if not, I think they're pretty much out of it already after the thumping that they got on the weekend against Newcastle. But look, while Fernandes' injury is yet to be assessed, the protective boot would all suggest that he won't be available for Thursday's game, and his status for Sunday's game at home to Aston Villa is also in doubt. Now, I would say that a lot of the times that these protective boots are being worn, it can be for precautionary reasons, you know, so let's not jump to any conclusions. Of course, we'll find out between now and Thursday night's game, but I think Thursday, I don't think he'll play Thursday. I don't think so. I think Aston Villa is probably the bigger game. It'll be the more difficult game, you would think. But again, Manchester United, time and time again, are getting this new manager bounce. Now, I know Ryan Mason is only coming in for, you know, the interim period, but anytime a manager changes in the Premier League, we tend to play the team the next week, and we know having a different manager can have a new manager bounce, but I don't know if Spurs will get that given the fact that their season is basically over already. Chris says the boot helps with stopping more swelling, relieves pressure on the ankle. We need him, and Spurs have another new manager, he says as well. Absolutely. So look, let's see what happens, but let's hope that we can get Bruno back. If not for Thursday, in time for Aston Villa on the weekend. Let's talk now, guys, about Alejandro Garnacho. And of course, the young man is nearing a return in relation to the injury that he sustained against, was it Fulham he got it against, I think, maybe? So he's been out for a good few weeks now. Reports in this initially suggested that he was going to be back at the end of April. Now, obviously, he is involved in the Argentinian under-20 squad for the World Cup, and reports have been circulating whether or not he will, one, be released by Manchester United, and two, whether he'll want to actually go himself. Now, according to reports, he does want to play for Argentina in the World Cup under-20s. Now, Manchester United, of course, don't want to lose him for the end of the season. So the start date for the under-20s World Cup is the 20th of May. So it would mean he would miss, I'll go through what games he will miss in a moment if he does decide to leave. But given the fact that he's only coming back from injury, and given the fact that we need all hands on deck for the run into the end of the season, and the fact that we're going to be playing Manchester City in an FA Cup final, it kind of throws a spanner in the works on whether he will play or not. So as we can see here, Alejandro Garnacho's decision is to come and play in the under-20 World Cup for the Argentina national team. Javier Mascherano, who is the manager of the under-20s Argentinian team, is in Europe to negotiate with clubs in Spain, Italy, and England about releasing players for the under-20 World Cup. He's due to speak to Manchester United for Alejandro Garnacho also, and that's set this week at some stage as well. Now, like we said, the under-20 World Cup, as you can see here, is running from the 20th of May to the 11th of June. Now, if we look at the games that he would potentially miss, sorry, let me just put it on this screen. So, if the game is going to be played on the 20th of May, you would be thinking that he would be gone a week before. Okay, so if the start date is the 20th of May, he'll probably be gone the week before. So he could potentially miss the Wolves game on the 13th of May, if not fly out directly after that game. It would mean then he would miss Bournemouth away, Chelsea away, Chelsea at home, Fulham at home, and then, of course, the FA Cup final. So if Garnacho decides that he wants to go and play with the Argentinian under-20s, he's going to miss minimum 4 games for Manchester United at the end of the season. And that will be on the back of, a prolonged period on the sideline after injury as well. So rules do state by FIFA that you do have to release your under-20s players for World Cup and major tournaments. So I don't know what way it's going to work. The fact that we're seeing Mascherano is in Europe to negotiate with individual clubs would suggest that there is a bit of leeway there. I think there'll be a common ground between the player, the coach, and your international coach then as well. So your player, your club, and the international coach. Will he go? I really don't know, to be quite honest with you. I think if the player wants to play and pushes for it, generally, there's nothing really much you can do about stopping him. But it remains to be seen. Obviously, I hope he stays, and I think he would be a big addition to the squad in the run-in. I really do. But first and foremost, let's get him back as quickly as possible from his injury. There are reports that he could potentially be back as quick as this weekend, but let's see what happens. Quick shout out to this guy as well before we go, guys. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And a report came out after the game on Sunday that he, out of all the 5 leagues in Europe, he is the number 1 1v1 defender. He's won more one-on-one challenges than anybody. He's been phenomenal. He's been absolutely phenomenal. He's been dribbled past in the Premier League this season once, and once only. He was absolutely phenomenal the other night against Brighton, and as we can see by the picture there, he went up against Mitoma, who is renowned for his dribbling ability, and he didn't go past him once, which I think was absolutely phenomenal. And I hope he stays. I don't know if he will or not. I love old school, old fashioned defenders. I think his his, I suppose, his skills at going forward have drastically improved in the, nearly year now that Ten Hag has been there. And, for that reason, I think he should stay. I really do. But it is an area that Ten Hag is looking at improving. Are you going to bring in a new right back and keep Wan-Bissaka and Dalot? I don't see it happening. Dalot supposedly is in talks over a new contract. Does that mean Wan-Bissaka is going to get the bullet? I don't know. There is reports suggesting that Crystal Palace do have a good chance of coming in and getting him back this summer. I would like to see him stay, though. I don't know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Chris says, Spider needs a new contract. I'm sorry. He shuts people down. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Chris. Completely agree. But yeah, look, let's see what happens. Obviously, the main one is, the main talking point is Harry Kane, as we know. And look, we'll see what happens in the coming days and weeks over it. But United are placed well. I'm liking the early early move for him. Getting talks going early. Try and get him in as quickly as possible, and get as many players in a transfer window as quickly as you can, so they can go on pre-season tour. They can learn what Erik ten Hag wants from them. They can get to know their teammates. There's no downside to it. The quicker you get him in, the better it is, for the club. So look, I mean, bring it on. Chris says, bring it on. Let's get the goals. Yeah, bring on Kane. Absolutely. Absolutely. But let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys, if you're watching back to this later. If you haven't already done so, please hit the thumbs up button on the video. It helps the channel out an awful lot, as you know. And hit subscribe if you're new to the channel as well. We do these, we try and do these news shows daily. So we'll be continuing doing them, of course. We'll be back tomorrow night for the members only video. So if you want to become an official member of the channel, link is in the description. Go check out the options there. And of course, then we'll be back Thursday night with the watch along for Spurs. Big game in relation to top four, and in relation to, really securing Champions League football for next year. But look, as usual, guys, I appreciate you watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Take it easy.